Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Draft Like a Pro. This is episode 3, and I'm joined once again by my co-host Max. How are you doing, Max?
Hey, I'm doing great. Yeah, it's been a fun week of football, and hopefully it continues that way.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so this week we weren't as successful. We didn't manage to pull down any rewards, but last week we were. So I'm going to share my screen, and we are going to pick out last week's winner. So last week we won an Ashley Young, and I did a contest on Twitter to see who win it. So if I hit start, let's see who win it. It is Danny La Rosa 17. Congratulations, you have won an Ashley Young. So well done to him. So I'm going to get into next. I'm going to start with your game week. You can talk us through what happened for you last week. So for anyone who don't know, Max is pretty much a free-to-play player. He has one card, which is a Billy Gilmore, which he thinks will end up being a really, really top player that'll outperform his L15 a lot. But anyway, let's talk about your main team.
Yeah, I mean, there's one very blatant mistake in my team, and I think it's the mistake that a lot of players, especially in FPL, made this week, and that was Captain Julian Alvarez. Yeah, it's I should have known the curse of FPL this season. The most transferred in player scores 1 point, or in Sorare terms, 42 points. Um, I won't be making that mistake this week, I think. So this week I'll be going with someone a little less conventional. Uh, Having said that, a couple of quality scores: James Madison, Anthony Gordon, really nice games. Madison against Liverpool as well, or against Arsenal. Sorry, North London derby. So um, yeah, just Alvarez really let me down, and especially him being my captain, it seems like a really vital component when you only have 5 players to choose from to pick the right captain. If I was Anthony Gordon captain, I'm probably in there amongst the prizes. So um,
Unfortunately, you wouldn't be. You're actually 80 points away from the prizes, which is just the top 200. But you did finish
and
around
I
the
don't pick
20th person.
Alvarez.
Yeah, and you don't pick Alvarez. You pick another player who got 100 instead. You take
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Trippier.
That probably would have worked out for me if I'd
Yeah,
done
if you're
that.
taking Trippier instead of Alvarez, you
Maybe I'll try that next week. Yeah, I'll go for the player who's going to score 100 points. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had pretty different strategies. That I was targeting the Luton Wolves game, and you targeted the Newcastle Sheffield game.
Yeah.
That is, I think that's going to be a running theme of this season. It's not just targeting Luton; it's targeting Sheffield as well, and targeting all the bad teams. And it's about who can farm the bad teams the hardest.
Yeah, even Burnley, I think the three teams that came up just so far have not been up to standard, and it's an unfortunate part of the Premier League is there's so much money involved for the top 17 teams have significantly more finances to burn through than the teams who just came up. I mean, Nottingham Forest kind of have done well. They're kind of a mid-table team now, I'd say, just based on the amount they spent last summer, and then they made like 15, 20 transfers and just picked the best 6 or 7 players, and they're still there, and the rest of them are gone. So, uh, yeah, Burnley are
Well,
the closest to doing that, but they're still, I think, a margin away. They played well against United. We probably get on to that in a bit. But it's hard to see them scoring a lot of goals.
yeah, and then another thing I want to talk to you about was James Madison. We say here that on this channel we back big players in big games, and I saw this crazy Twitter argument, which is never a good thing. It was about one guy picked Madison plus Son plus Saka on
Wow.
Twitter in FPL, and he completely hauled. And someone was like, "Is targeting fixtures dead now? Like, how can you pick these 3 players?" And the response is just, "You back big players in big games." And James Madison has turned out to be one of these big players, and you backed him and did pretty well out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really an eye test thing as well, where James Madison has just been playing so well this season that it's hard not to back him in any given game. So
And
I'm going to be continuing to back him. I think he's quality.
yeah, and then the other thing is that you had your 40-point defender, Matty Cash, bringing in 61, outperforming his cap at 21 points. Chelsea. Is it safe to just pick defenders against Chelsea all the time? They seem to have some sort of voodoo curse on them. They're never going to score.
Yeah, and like all their best players keep getting injured. It's Gusto's out now for a few games. He was looking really promising for a while. Obviously that's a red card rather than an injury, but yeah, they're having real issues, especially in front of goal. I'm sure Nkunku would have made a big difference, but without him, it's becoming difficult again to see where the goals are going to come from. Sterling isn't firing. Jackson is missing a lot of easy chances. It could be worth backing defenses against Chelsea. They really are just in a slump for the last, I don't know, something like 16 months. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You call it a slump at that point?
Yeah, just a permanent decline since they sacked Tuchel. That and Potter started off well as well. To be fair, that we worked it out, me and you in the pub on Saturday. That they got nearly all their points last season in their first 10 games, and then back end last 28, they did almost nothing. Then yeah, Billy Gilmore, you bought this player in. He's outperformed his L15. He's your guy that you think will beat. I think he only cost 46 points. He got a 53. Yeah, gonna keep ticking away and hopefully farm points and hopefully get you up into the rewards. That even though the rewards were here are 410, the 50% bonus on the captain makes a big difference.
Yeah, I also omitted Gordon in that team for Alvarez. So um,
Yeah, Gordon would have helped there getting another 63 points.
no doubt.
No doubt, no doubt. So I'm going to talk about my team next. So, first of all, my amateur team was going pretty well. Yeah, so we start on Saturday. We were in the pub. I was ended up cheering Ederson's every single save at the end because he regged in about 10 NA, and you were just laughing at me, telling me that I was a complete loser and this is not a fun way to watch football. But I was having great fun. Gvardiol was one of my picks to say that hey, he's going to start outperforming his L15. His L15 was pretty high at around 50, but he's already got to hit a 78. Lewis Dunk was a pick I brought in, targeting the fixture. Goal line clearance is pretty lucky. And then captaining my lowest score, or my second lowest scoring player, Szoboszlai had an assist ruled out. Would have been handy to get that extra 25 points or 30 points due to the captaincy, but didn't work out. And then I think the real player that let me down was Neto against Luton. He got 60 points, which you can't complain about, but I really need a lot of AA from him. And then in pro, I thought I was in business in pro on Saturday, that I was up 340 or I was up whatever 310, and I was thinking, okay, just need to get to 360. Solomon's a big player. Did not start. Play Sharper got 10 out of 11 right. They got Solomon wrong. And then Haaland, yeah, he had another big chance missed. It's pretty greedy to keep playing him in Prem Pro, but I think I'm going to keep doing it. And then Doku didn't get a decisive. Diop, another big score, 43 cap, 68. I love him to bits. And I decided to go in to the special weekly limited, right, to try and win a jersey. I already had Kenny Tete, who unfortunately DNP'd out of the blue, but I bought in Vitaly Mikalenko and Philip Billing. And this is a good chance to tell you guys that we are organizing a league for the month of October, and we're going to give away one of these two guys. So the link to the league should be in the description. Join and also comment which card you want to be given away. We're going to give away one in October and one in November. So comment Mikalenko or Billing, and we'll count up the comments and see which one's higher, and we'll give that one away. And then I kind of wanted to ask your opinion on this. I needed to buy a new season forward to enter into the rare one, and
Mm.
I forked out for Anthony Martial.
Oh my
I
God.
Oh my, I know, right? And he DNP'd for the first time in a while. I thought like, okay, this is going to be a safe 25 pointer. It's going to get me into the top 80 that I need. This is over multiple weeks, by the way. I think it's 5 game weeks or whatever, 4 game weeks, 5 game weeks. So I'll have a chance to make up the gap to the top 80. But yeah, Martial DMP. He scored a good goal tonight, in my opinion, in the League Cup. But yeah, would you, if you had option to buy a forward, would you have bought Martial?
Um, never, never.
Never, never, never,
No, I
never.
mean, like even when Hoyland was injured at the start of the season, Martial wasn't really getting a lot of minutes, and that was when United didn't have a striker.
Well, Martial was kind of injured at the start of the season as well, wasn't he?
Oh, I think he
They
missed
played.
the end. Yeah, he missed preseason, didn't he? So maybe you're right. Maybe he would have played a bit more. I think he's played like he started. one game outside of the League Cup this season, and I remember Ten Hag saying he thought he played a great game. So maybe there's a chance that he plays.
But
If United are winning comfortably, I think he will come off the bench. And if he comes off the bench, he might score. That's what you're hoping for, really. Uh,
or it's a Hoyland injury that Hoyland's going to be away with the Danish team, and he's a bit brittle.
yeah,
And Martial is not getting near the French team.
that's true.
But yeah, hopefully I can pull in a jersey one of these days. I've got 3 jerseys on my wall. I really want a 4th one. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm going to drag you to look ahead to the upcoming game week. So first of all, I made this dashboard and I made it for FPL. Okay. So you'll notice that Luton and Burnley both have double graphs, but I think last week we made the mistake of talking about every single game. And we're going to do a bit of a cutoff today. We're not going to talk about Burnley versus Luton. We're going to start off with Newcastle United against Burnley, oddly enough. 77% odds to win. They just won 8-0. They just farmed a team so hard. Everyone's playing the League Cup this midweek, but everyone's resting. They don't really have to worry about switching out for Europe. Anthony Gordon, Nick Pope are in your team. You excited?
Yes, because I have Anthony Gordon and Nick Pope, which means I cannot get Trippier, the most transferred in player this week, presumably. Uh, and I would not recommend it because he's getting 1 point. One and not 1 point in FPL, 1 point in Sorare.
Yeah. And then another team you've got 2 players of is Man City. You're sitting on Julian Alvarez.
I just have Alvarez.
You
at the
just
moment.
have Alvarez. Oh, you got room for another City player to transfer in potentially this week.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm the one sitting on Ederson plus Guardiol, who are spoilers are already going into my team. West Ham versus Sheffield. West Ham have been good this season, and their best player has been James Ward-Prowse. And before we came on air, you gave me a rant about why James Ward-Prowse is not in So Rare. You cannot pick James Ward-Prowse.
Yeah, I really wanted him. I kind of fancied him against Liverpool. I think I even mentioned last week, I think West Ham are probably going to score from a set piece. But this week in particular, Sheffield United have just lost 8-0. And I think they conceded, well, obviously Trippier got 3 assists. I think they conceded 4 goals from crosses, and then another 2 or 3 from cutbacks. These are the types of positions that WordPress will be getting into. I think he's going to score very high for West Ham this season in general, but in this particular fixture, um, yeah, I can see him doing really well. So I was a little bit upset that I couldn't get him in so rare, but I do still have Madison, so I'm happy enough with my midfield.
Yeah, and then Arsenal versus Bournemouth. One of my big picks was saying that Fabio Vieira, Havertz is bad. He's going to start starting. Vieira started 3 games on the trot, and he hasn't scored well. He scored better as a sub. So I think my read saying that, hey, he's going to get his chance. He's going to do well. I was right about the first part. He got his chance, and he hasn't done well. And so now I don't have a read on whether or not he'll start or not. And I think Arteta has started to become really, really unpredictable. I'm not particularly comfortable picking up any Arsenal players the way he's talking about wanting to be Pep and rotating their keepers. Yeah, and then Saka is likely injured. Obviously, it's only Tuesday today. We don't have the information. I was trying to pick up a Reece Nelson on auction to replace some of my limiteds that aren't playing, like Kenny Tete, in the jersey thing, but I haven't been lucky so far. But yeah, Arsenal should roll through Bournemouth with a wide variety of players, and it's very hard to pick one.
Mm.
My United versus Palace. United just beat Palace 3-0, was it at the end? I missed the end of it.
It ended 3-0, yeah. It was pretty
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah. Expecting United. You just don't know week to week to week United. I want to believe that Martial will score again at the weekend, but I'm not sure. There's no player that jumps out at me screaming about United.
Casemiro played a really, really good game against Palace today, and he will play again at the weekend. So he would be the best one to pick, I would imagine. Hoyland, Rashford, I just think there are better forwards at the moment. I think outside of Casemiro, there's probably not anyone else. I still wouldn't trust United's defense. I was actually thinking as well about Reguilon, because I thought he'd be cheap because he hasn't played a lot of games. But yeah, once again, not yet in the game. So hopefully soon.
Yeah, the late transfers in, not being picked up yet. Okay, I do want to talk about Everton just really briefly because in our first episode we said, oh, you've got to get Ramsdale or Henderson in as their 40-point keepers as your backup keeper,
Mm,
and they both turned out to be completely busted flushes. But Pickford, 41 points against Luton. I think he's a screaming buy this week. If you've got the transfer to swap out your keeper, go to Pickford, and I think he's a really good shout in Prem Pro, where you've got the cap of 270. He's a really good shout in cap 220 if you play that, or cap 220 if you play that either. So I'm thinking Pickford's a great pick.
mhm.
Moving swiftly on, Fulham versus Chelsea. Not a lot to say about it. You can back Fulham's defense if you want. I think Issa Diop and Tim Ream have been massively outperforming their L15. I I want to believe in Chelsea's defense will hold them through, that it might be a 0-0, but I don't know. Do you have
Yeah.
anything to add? Yeah, fair. Not a lot to say. Everyone's talked about Chelsea for ages. Liverpool versus Spurs. You're gonna back your big player in a big game again?
Yeah, Madison is scoring this weekend. Um, I think it'll be a high scoring game. I think Liverpool Spurs often ends up being high scoring. Um, don't quote me on that, but it feels like it has the makings of a high scoring game. So I think Madison could do well.
Yeah, I've got a decision now to whether or not to play Szoboszlai in it, but he seems to be a big player. Brighton versus Aston Villa. I don't have a read on this. Do you have a read on this? I can't call this. This is the most even game of the entire week.
No, no, too hard to
Oh no.
predict. I think I would avoid that fixture.
Yeah. And then Brentford Nottingham Forest is also only 1% of the difference. Too hard to go. Like, it's not a big game. It's hard to be like someone's so good that they're going to crush, but it's also, there's not a big enough difference to pick. So those games you can ignore. So, with all that being said, I am going to show you guys what I'm planning on doing. I have decided to bring in Pickford, obviously. And so I'm getting rid of Neto, bringing in Gordon. Gordon is alive. He's going to do really well against Burnley. And I'm going to take this opportunity to swap out Ramsdale, who's on the bench, for Pickford, who is starting. Because this also lets me do something fun in Prem Pro, where before I wasn't able to fit in Doku and Haaland and Polina, who's my best midfielder. And now I am. So going into my Man City defense, into Liverpool, into Gordon up top, and going into Lewis Dunk. I actually have a third transfer. For now, this will be my team, probably with Gordon captain, but I will consider dropping out Dunk for another player. And to try and win something for the community, I'm going to be going into Premier League Pro, and I'm going to be doing the exciting thing of going Pickford into my best defender, who I think is Diop against Chelsea, and my best midfielder, who I think is Polina against Chelsea, into Haaland, into Doku. So this is going to be the play. We're going to have the low cap keeper. Not going to be able to afford to get Edison in this week, but hopefully Pickford keeps the clean sheet.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, so we want to talk through yours next. Do you want to share your screen and talk us through what you're going to do?
Yeah, sure. So you can see my screen now? Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, so big decision this week. I'm actually trading out Billy Gilmore. I think I can get some additional funds by trading him out for someone who's 40, who maybe is a bit of an up and comer at the moment. So the first pick that I have is, and this might surprise you, is Mason Mount. So Mason Mount, he's got very low scores in the last few games. He's not played many games, which means if he does start playing and he starts playing well, he played okay against Palace. He did come off possible injury, which might be a concern. but it's not too difficult to trade him back out again next week. So he's going to be my first pick, just the small chance that he might pick up some points. The other pick that I have here is going to be none other than Saliba. I think he might not last more than a week for me, but I think he's on for a good game against Bournemouth. I think Arsenal probably won't have too many issues keeping a clean sheet against Bournemouth. And even though they conceded 2 goals against Spurs, I thought he was quite impressive last week, just in terms of the eye test. He played somewhat well, and maybe this won't agree with me. But 68, considering they conceded 2 goals. Yeah, I think
He's
he had
one bad performance in there against Ireland, but other than that, it's all about 50.
Yeah, yeah. I think he's obviously a very good player, and I think he could put in a good performance for me this week against Bournemouth. So that is my selection. Now,
Let's see how you line them up.
yeah. So obviously James Maddison stays in, Gordon stays in, Alvarez stays in, Pope stays in, and Cash will go in favor of Saliba. I have an interesting challenge for captain this week. I think it's going to be Anthony Gordon. I think I have to back him this week after the performance he had for me last week. It just makes sense.
Especially with Harvey Barnes out with a long injury. He is nailed.
Exactly.
And then in semi-pro, you're going to line up pretty much the
It's got to
same.
be Gilmore, obviously. And then I think it's otherwise much the same. It's going to be Saliba. And I think I actually back Alvarez and Madison, or Gordon and Madison over Alvarez this week. Big player.
Nice. Yeah, I think top players all around. Last week, I came away from it thinking a bit jealous that he's got all the City forwards and I've got the City defenders. But it worked out for me last week. And I think this is another week where I'm looking at your forwards. Well, I've got Gordon as well now. I'm thinking, they look good. But his defense looks good as well, actually. Yeah, I think I've got a 30-point lead over you after last week. Could evaporate this week. Looking at those fixtures, looking at those games, I'm going to need to consider what I do with Dunk if I can get a Newcastle defender in, perhaps, or maybe be crazy and try get Tarkovsky or an Everton defender in. Tarkovsky's been crushing it.
Tarkovsky could have a really good game this week as well. Luton have been conceding goals, haven't been scoring a lot, apart from penalties, which they're not going to keep getting penalties. So yeah,
true. So gonna call it there. Thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to comment below what card you want to win and to join the league that's in the description. Thanks again, and see you guys next week.